The message arrived at 3:47 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, encoded in quantum frequencies that should have been impossible for any Earth-based technology to detect. Dr. Kaveth Ordinal, head of the Deep Space Communications Array in Chile, stared at the translation scrolling across his monitor with growing dread. Warning to the third planet of Sol system. The hegemony approaches. Your species has 13 rotations to demonstrate worthiness or face pacification. This transmission violates 17 laws of non-interference. I risk my life to send it. Prepare. The signal had bounced off 3 relay satellites, each one designed to mask its origin point somewhere in the Vega system. Whoever sent this had gone to extraordinary lengths to remain anonymous while breaking what appeared to be a galactic directive of silence. Kaveth's hands trembled as he ran the message through every verification protocol he knew. The quantum signature was unlike anything in Earth's databases, yet the mathematical constants embedded within proved the sender understood advanced physics far beyond human comprehension. The gravitational calculations alone required knowledge of stellar mechanics that wouldn't be discovered by Earth scientists for another century. Within 6 hours, the message had reached the highest levels of government. Emergency sessions convened in Washington, Beijing, Moscow, and Geneva. President Malthorn of the United States sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by military advisors and scientists, all grappling with humanity's first confirmed contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. And it was a warning of annihilation. 13 rotations, muttered General Vex Corin, studying the translation. That's 13 days, assuming they mean Earth days. Dr. Nisa Grimm, the Pentagon's xenolinguistics expert, shook her head. The mathematical context suggests they're using a standard galactic rotation period. Based on the embedded stellar references, that gives us roughly 18 Earth days. The revelation that humanity was not alone in the universe should have been cause for celebration. Instead, it arrived wrapped in the promise of judgment by an empire so vast and powerful that one of their own citizens risked death simply to warn Earth of its approach. Over the following hours, as world leaders struggled to comprehend the implications, observatories across the globe began detecting anomalies. Space telescopes picked up gravitational distortions moving at impossible speeds toward the solar system. Whatever was coming possessed technology that bent space-time itself. Dr. Kaveth worked through the night, trying to trace the signal's exact origin. Deep in the Vega system, approximately 25 light-years away, something had transmitted faster-than-light communication across the galaxy. The energy requirements alone suggested a civilization that could harness the power of entire stars. As dawn broke over the Atacama Desert, Kaveth made a chilling discovery. The same quantum frequencies were carrying additional data, star charts, tactical assessments, and what appeared to be records of other worlds that had faced the hegemony's judgment. Planet after planet, each showing the same pattern: evaluation, followed by either integration or complete orbital bombardment. None of the civilizations in the records had been given 18 days to prepare. The anonymous sender hadn't just warned Earth, they had given humanity something no other species had received: time to prove their worth to an empire that had already decided their fate. Commander Vex Naraleth stood on the observation deck of the hegemony dreadnought Eternal Dominion, watching the blue-white point of light that marked the Sol system grow larger through the viewport. Behind him, tactical displays showed the complete military assessment of the third planet, designated as Terra in the hegemony databases. Curious, he murmured to his adjutant, Subcommander Crix Valderin. The preliminary scans indicate significant technological advancement since our last survey 40 rotations ago. Valdorin consulted his datapad, showing the efficiency reports from their previous pacification campaigns. 37 systems processed this cycle, Commander, all deemed insufficient for integration. Shall I prepare the standard orbital bombardment protocols? Not yet. Naraleth's compound eyes focused on the tactical readouts. Something is anomalous about this system. Our deep-range sensors detected artificial gravitational signatures, evidence of faster-than-light experimentation. Yet their official technology level suggests they should be centuries from such achievements. The hegemony had perfected the art of evaluation over 3,000 years. Species were judged on 7 criteria: technological advancement, social, cohesion, military potential, resource utilization, cultural adaptability, biological resilience, and what the hegemony termed conquest utility, how useful a species would be as subjects rather than obstacles. Terra had been flagged for evaluation because their electromagnetic signatures had recently crossed the threshold indicating space-based civilization. Standard protocol called for a 12-day assessment period, followed by either integration demands or complete planetary sterilization. No exceptions had ever been made to this timeline. What Narration didn't know was that deep in the hegemony's own intelligence networks, someone was watching his mission with growing concern. Agent Keth Moonwhisper operated from the shadows of the hegemony's vast bureaucracy, one of the few remaining members of an extinct species that had once challenged the Empire's expansion. The hegemony had allowed certain survivors to serve as analysts, believing their unique perspectives valuable for understanding potential threats. Keth had been monitoring human electromagnetic emissions for the past 5 years, and what he discovered had shaken him to his core. Humanity wasn't just another primitive species stumbling toward space travel. They were developing technologies through methods the hegemony had never encountered. Their approach to physics was intuitive rather than computational, leading to breakthrough discoveries that should have taken millennia of traditional research. More troubling were the intercepted transmissions showing human military cooperation across their entire planet. Every previous species the hegemony had encountered had been fragmented by territorial conflicts during their evaluation period. Humans were unifying in the face of external threat with a speed that defied all sociological models. From his hidden monitoring station on Hegemony Prime, Keth watched as Commander Naraleth's fleet entered the Sol system's outer boundaries. The humans had somehow detected their approach. Their primitive radio telescopes were already tracking the gravitational distortions. This should have been impossible. Even the hegemony's most advanced subject species had never achieved such early detection capabilities. Keth made a decision that would either save 2 civilizations or doom them both. He activated an encrypted communication channel, one that would route through 17 different relay points to mask its origin, and began composing the most dangerous message of his life. The humans deserved to know what they were facing. More importantly, the hegemony deserved to understand what they were about to encounter. As his message began its journey toward Earth, carrying warnings and tactical information that violated every law of the Empire, Keth wondered if humanity would prove to be the catalyst the galaxy had been waiting for, the species that would finally show the hegemony the difference between conquest and cooperation. The evaluation would begin in 6 days. Everything would change after that. The revelation hit Earth like a tidal wave of coordinated panic and unprecedented cooperation. Within 48 hours of receiving the second transmission, this one containing detailed schematics of hegemony, technology and tactical assessments, humanity achieved something that had eluded them for centuries: complete global unity. Dr. Pixis Blackstone, director of the hastily formed Terran Defense Coalition, stood before the largest gathering of human minds ever assembled. Scientists, engineers, military strategists, and philosophers from every nation had converged at the emergency headquarters established beneath the Rocky Mountains. "The second transmission changes everything," she announced to the assembled crowd. "Our anonymous benefactor has provided us with intelligence that no evaluated species has ever possessed. We know their technology, their psychology, and most importantly, their evaluation criteria." The data was both terrifying and illuminating. The hegemony evaluated species on 7 specific metrics, but the weighting of these criteria revealed something crucial. They prioritized utility over destruction. The Empire wanted subjects, not empty planets. Colonel Zara Nightfall, representing the combined military forces, highlighted the tactical situation. They're bringing 1 dreadnought and 6 escort vessels. Massive by our standards, but the intelligence suggests this is actually a minimal force by hegemony standards. They're not expecting resistance. Dr. Orion Darkwater, the theoretical physicist who had been analyzing the alien schematics, made the presentation that would define humanity's strategy. Their technology relies on quantum mechanical principles we're only beginning to understand, but their approach is entirely computational. They calculate optimal solutions and implement them with perfect precision. And that's their weakness, added Dr. Vera Stormwind, the cognitive scientist. The psychological profiles indicate they've never encountered a species that uses intuitive problem-solving. Every civilization they've faced follows predictable logical patterns. We don't. The plan that emerged over the next 72 hours was audacious beyond anything humanity had ever attempted. Rather than trying to fight the hegemony's overwhelming technological superiority, Earth would demonstrate something no other species had ever shown: the ability to exceed their own theoretical limitations through unpredictable innovation. Project. Prometheus began with the simultaneous construction of 12 orbital platforms, each one incorporating reverse-engineered hegemony technology combined with distinctly human engineering approaches. The platforms weren't weapons, they were demonstrations of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to achieve impossible results through creative problem-solving. Meanwhile, every space agency, military installation, and research facility on Earth began working on secondary projects designed to showcase the 7 evaluation criteria. But humanity added an 8th criterion that didn't exist in hegemony assessment protocols: the capacity for exponential growth through collaborative adaptation. Captain Raven Starforge commanded the orbital construction effort from the International Space Station, which had been rapidly converted into a command center. "The hegemony fleet will enter visual range in 4 days," she reported. "All 12 platforms are 60% complete. The question is whether we can demonstrate transcendent capability before they complete their evaluation." Back on Earth, the most crucial aspect of humanity's gambit was unfolding. Dr. Magnus Voidcaller had assembled teams of philosophers, artists, and social scientists to address the cultural adaptability criterion. Their task was to create something that would fundamentally challenge the hegemony's understanding of civilization itself. Every species they've encountered has been judged as either compatible with hegemony culture or incompatible, Dr. Voidcaller explained. "We're going to show them a third option. A culture that enhances and transforms whatever it touches, including the hegemony itself." As the final preparations entered their critical phase, humanity found itself unified not by fear, but by the unprecedented opportunity to prove that intelligence, creativity, and cooperation could triumph over any obstacle. The hegemony was coming to judge Earth's worthiness. They would discover instead that they were the ones being evaluated. The hegemony fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system exactly when their calculations predicted. Commander Naraleth expected to find a primitive civilization, cowering in anticipation of judgment. Instead, his sensors immediately detected something impossible: active, faster-than-light communication signals originating from the third planet. "Sub-Commander Valdoran," Naraleth's voice carried a note of uncertainty that hadn't been present in 3 decades of campaigns. "Explain how a pre-contact civilization has achieved quantum entanglement communication." Valdoran's analysis was equally puzzled. "Commander, the energy signatures suggest they've somehow reverse-engineered our own communication protocols, but that would require access to hegemony technology, which is impossible unless someone provided it to them." Naraleth's statement hung in the air like an accusation. The tactical displays showed 12 orbital platforms surrounding Earth, each one broadcasting a simple message in perfect hegemony standard language. Welcome to Sol System. We understand your evaluation protocols. We are prepared to demonstrate capabilities that exceed your assessment parameters. Request formal first contact procedures. This had never happened before. In 3 millennia of expansion, no species had ever initiated contact with a hegemony evaluation fleet. The protocols existed, buried deep in the Empire's legal codes, but they hadn't been used since the hegemony's founding wars. Open a communication channel, Narration ordered. Standard, evaluation frequency. The response came immediately, not from the planet's surface, but from the orbital platforms themselves. The image that appeared on the main display showed a human female in what appeared to be a command environment, surrounded by dozens of other humans working at advanced technology interfaces. I am Captain Raven Starforge, representing the Terran. Defense Coalition, the human said in flawless hegemony standard. We acknowledge your authority to evaluate our species according to Imperial law. However, we invoke Provision 847 of the Galactic Integration Accords, the right to demonstrate transcendent capability before formal evaluation begins. Narration felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: complete surprise. Provision 847 was an ancient legal statute that allowed species to delay evaluation if they could prove they had achieved breakthrough capabilities during the assessment period. No species had ever invoked it because none had ever known it existed. How do you know Imperial law? Narration demanded. The same way we know that your evaluation criteria are based on 7 specific metrics, none of which account for collaborative, exponential advancement, Captain Starforge replied. We also know that the hegemony has never encountered a civilization that treats first contact as an opportunity for mutual enhancement rather than submission or resistance. On his private communication channel, Narration received an urgent message from his intelligence officers. The humans hadn't just achieved faster-than-light communication. They had done it using entirely novel approaches that were theoretically more efficient than hegemony technology. Demonstrate your claimed transcendent capability, Narration commanded, following protocols that hadn't been used in over 2,000 years. What happened next would be discussed in hegemony tactical academies for generations. The 12 orbital platforms began working in perfect synchronization, using the gravitational field of Earth itself as a massive computational matrix. Within minutes, they had calculated and broadcast the complete structural engineering specifications for improvements to hegemony hyperspace drives, improvements that would increase efficiency by 37%. This is your first demonstration, Captain Starforge announced. We call it the Prometheus gift. We have 11 more prepared, each one representing capabilities your evaluation parameters cannot measure. The ability to enhance the capabilities of any civilization we encounter, including your own. Sub-Commander. Valderan stared at his instruments in disbelief. Commander, the mathematical proofs are correct. If we implemented these modifications, our entire fleet's strategic capability would be revolutionized. Narration realized he was no longer conducting a routine evaluation. Somehow, impossibly, humanity had turned first contact into a negotiation between equals. The question was no longer whether Earth would be integrated into the hegemony. The question was whether the hegemony was ready to be integrated with Earth. Over the next 6 days, humanity systematically dismantled every assumption the hegemony had ever made about technological advancement, social development, and the nature of intelligence itself. The second demonstration came from Dr. Orion Darkwater's team. They had discovered that human intuitive problem-solving could optimize hegemony weapon systems by treating them as biological rather than mechanical constructs. The result was an energy projection system that was 40% more efficient and generated its own targeting intelligence. Impossible, Sub-Commander Valderin muttered as he reviewed the technical specifications. Their approach treats quantum fields as if they were living organisms. It shouldn't work. But it does work, Commander Naraleth replied, studying the test results. Their success rate with untested technology is 73% higher than our own engineers achieve with familiar systems. The third demonstration showcased humanity's approach to social organization. Rather than the rigid hierarchical structures that characterized every hegemony member species, humans had developed something unprecedented: dynamic, cooperative networks that became more efficient under stress. Dr. Vera Stormwind presented this concept by organizing the entire Terran Defense Coalition into a real-time problem-solving demonstration. 12,000 humans across 6 continents worked simultaneously to solve a theoretical logistics problem that typically required hegemony computers 3 days to calculate. The humans completed it in 6 hours and produced 17 alternative solutions that were superior to the computer-generated result. They don't just adapt to changing circumstances, reported intelligence analyst Crix Voidheart from the observation team. They actively seek out ways to transform challenges into opportunities for enhancement. It's as if their entire species is designed for exponential growth. By the 4th demonstration, something unprecedented was happening aboard the hegemony ships. Crew members were requesting permission to study the human techniques. The tactical implications were obvious, but the cultural implications were staggering. Dr. Magnus Voidcaller's team presented the 5th demonstration, humanity's approach to cultural integration. Instead of showing how humans could adapt to hegemony, culture, they demonstrated how human culture enhanced and elevated any civilization it encountered. "We don't seek to replace your culture," Dr. Voidcaller explained to the increasingly interested hegemony crew. "We seek to help your culture become the best possible version of itself. This is what we call collaborative evolution." The demonstration involved human artists, philosophers, and engineers working together to create something entirely new, a form of cultural expression that combined hegemony mathematical precision with human creative intuition. The result was beautiful, functional, and completely unprecedented. Commander Naraleth found himself in communication with Hegemony Command more frequently than protocol required. Each report he sent back to Imperial headquarters described capabilities that challenged the fundamental assumptions of the Empire's expansion model. "They're not asking to join the hegemony," he reported to Fleet Admiral Zex Starbreaker. "They're offering to improve it." The 6th demonstration was the most audacious yet. Humanity showed that their collaborative problem-solving could be applied to hegemony governance itself. Dr. Pixis Blackstone presented a theoretical model for imperial administration that would increase efficiency, reduce rebellion probability, and enhance member species satisfaction, all while maintaining the hegemony's strategic objectives. "Your current model assumes that conquered species will eventually accept integration," Dr. Blackstone explained. "Our model is based on voluntary enhancement. Species don't join the hegemony because they have to. They join because they want to become better than they could be alone." By the time humanity prepared their 7th and final demonstration, everyone in the hegemony fleet understood that something fundamental had changed. This wasn't an evaluation anymore. It was the beginning of a transformation that would affect the entire galaxy. Agent Keth Moonwhisper, still hidden in his monitoring station, watched the proceedings with growing amazement. His desperate gamble to warn humanity had triggered something unprecedented. The first challenge to hegemony supremacy that came not from rebellion, but from the offer of partnership. The final demonstration would determine whether the galaxy was ready for a new kind of empire, one based on collaboration rather than conquest. The 7th demonstration began not with technology or tactics, but with a simple question posed by Captain Raven Starforge. What if expansion doesn't have to mean conquest? Standing in the command center of Orbital Platform 1, surrounded by representatives from every nation on Earth, Captain Starforge addressed not just Commander Naraleth's fleet, but the entire Hegemony High Command who had been monitoring the unprecedented evaluation. For 3,000 years, your empire has grown through a simple formula. Evaluate, conquer, integrate, repeat. You've created the largest civilization in galactic history, but you've also created the largest collection of resentful subjects in galactic history. The tactical displays showed real-time data from across hegemony space, rebellion statistics, resource allocation inefficiencies, and the enormous military expenditure required to maintain control over thousands of unwilling member species. We propose an alternative, Dr. Pixis Blackstone continued from Earth's surface. Expansion through enhancement. Instead of conquering civilizations, you help them become better versions of themselves. Instead of subjects, you create partners. The demonstration was breathtaking in its scope. Humanity had analyzed the social, economic, and military data of 17 different hegemony member species and developed specific enhancement protocols for each one. Rather than suppressing their unique capabilities, the human approach would amplify what made each species exceptional while fostering cooperation. The Zephyrian mathematical capabilities could revolutionize hegemony logistics, explained Dr. Orion Darkwater. The crystalline collective's mineral sense could optimize resource extraction across entire sectors. The Nebula Rider's three-dimensional thinking could enhance navigation through complex space phenomena. What stunned the hegemony observers was that humanity had identified synergistic relationships between species that the Empire had never recognized. Civilizations that had been conquered separately could, working together, achieve capabilities that exceeded even hegemony technology. "You've been building an empire of parts," Captain Starforge observed. "We're suggesting you could build an organism, a living, growing, self-improving galactic civilization where every member becomes more than they could be alone." Commander Naraleth received a priority communication from Hegemony Prime. Fleet, Admiral Zex Starbreaker appeared on his private channel, her expression unreadable. "Commander, the High Council has been observing your evaluation. The humans have presented concepts that challenge our fundamental strategic doctrine." "Yes, Admiral. Their demonstrations have been unprecedented." "More than unprecedented, Commander. They've been revolutionary." The Admiral paused, then continued with words that would reshape galactic history. "The High Council has authorized a new protocol, Collaborative Integration Assessment. Instead of evaluating the humans for conquest, we're going to evaluate the hegemony for partnership." The announcement was transmitted simultaneously to every ship in the fleet and every monitoring station across hegemony space. For the first time in 3 millennia, the Empire would consider fundamental changes to its expansion model. Agent Keth Moon Whisper, still hidden in his monitoring station, watched as his desperate gamble achieved something beyond his wildest hopes. The warning he had sent to Earth hadn't just saved humanity, it had initiated the transformation of the entire galactic order. On Earth, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Every orbital platform began broadcasting detailed enhancement, protocols for hegemony member species, freely shared technological innovations, and collaborative frameworks for interstellar governance. "This is our gift to the galaxy," Dr. Magnus Voidcaller announced. "Not conquest, not submission, but partnership in becoming something greater than any of us could achieve alone." The hegemony fleet remained in Sol system, but no longer as conquerors evaluating subjects. They had become participants in humanity's most ambitious project, the transformation of galactic civilization from an empire of conquest into a commonwealth of collaboration. The revolution had begun with a single anonymous warning. It would end with the birth of something the galaxy had never seen before, a truly cooperative interstellar civilization. 6 months after first contact, the hegemony as it had existed for 3,000 years was gone. In its place stood something unprecedented in galactic history, the cooperative commonwealth of worlds, with Earth as its philosophical heart and the former hegemony worlds as its expanding body. Commander Narration, now bearing the title of Integration Coordinator, stood in the observation lounge of the newly christened CCS Harmony, watching the construction of the first joint development station in orbit around Earth. Humans and representatives from 47 former hegemony species worked side by side, their combined efforts producing technological marvels that exceeded anything the old empire had achieved. The efficiency reports are staggering, Sub-Commander Valdorn, now Director of Collaborative Operations, reported. Resource conflicts have decreased by 81%. Technological advancement has increased by 230%. Most remarkably, voluntary participation in Commonwealth projects is at 96% across all member species. The transformation hadn't been without challenges. Some hegemony hardliners had attempted to maintain the old conquest model, leading to what historians would later call the Liberation Wars, conflicts where former subjects and human partners worked together to free the remaining holdout systems. But resistance crumbled quickly when faced with the undeniable evidence of the Commonwealth's success. Species that had been suppressed under hegemony rule flourished when their unique abilities were recognized and enhanced rather than controlled. Captain Raven Starforge, now Admiral of the Commonwealth Integration Fleet, reviewed the latest expansion reports. 17 systems have requested voluntary integration this month, she announced to the Joint Command Council. The hegemony spent centuries forcing compliance. We're achieving cooperation through demonstrated benefit. The secret to humanity's approach had become clear through practical application. While the hegemony had viewed galactic civilization as a zero-sum competition where one species' strength required another's weakness, humans understood that intelligence and creativity were exponential resources. The more you shared them, the more everyone had. Dr. Pixis Blackstone, now director of the Commonwealth Development Institute, presented the quarterly advancement report. The Zephyrian human mathematical collaboration has produced new physics that allow faster-than-light communication across galactic distances. The Crystalline Collective and the Terran Mining Consortium have developed resource extraction methods that actually enhance planetary ecosystems. The Nebula Rider's spatial awareness, combined with human intuitive problem-solving, has opened previously impossible trade routes through stellar hazards. Agent Keith Moonwhisper had emerged from the shadows to become the Commonwealth's Director of Historical Integration. His species, thought extinct under hegemony rule, had been discovered surviving in hidden enclaves across 17 systems. Under the Commonwealth model, their unique analytical abilities were helping other extinct civilizations rebuild and rejoin galactic society. 43 species previously classified as eliminated by the hegemony have been rediscovered and successfully reintegrated, Keth reported. Each one brings capabilities we had lost. The galaxy is becoming more diverse and more capable with each rediscovery. But perhaps the most significant change was philosophical. The Commonwealth had proven that advanced civilization didn't require the domination of weaker species. Instead, it required the recognition that every form of intelligence had unique value, and that true strength came from the synthesis of diverse capabilities. Dr. Magnus Void Caller, now serving as Commonwealth Cultural Coordinator, had established the most successful aspect of the new civilization: the enhancement protocols. Rather than forcing cultural conformity, the Commonwealth helped each species become the best possible version of themselves while fostering voluntary cooperation. We've learned that the galaxy doesn't need rulers, Dr. Void Caller explained to a gathering of newly integrated species representatives. It needs partners. Every civilization that joins us doesn't just benefit from our combined knowledge. They contribute their own unique perspective that makes all of us stronger. The transformation culminated in the establishment of the Galactic Enhancement Network, a faster-than-light communication and collaboration system that connected every Commonwealth world in real time. Problems that would have taken the hegemony Years to solve were now resolved in days through collaborative effort. Standing in the Commonwealth Council chambers on the new capital world of New Terra, a planet specifically designed as a collaborative space where all member species could thrive, Admiral Starforge reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. It had begun with a single anonymous warning sent across the void by someone willing to risk everything to give humanity a chance. That warning had become the catalyst for the greatest transformation in galactic history. The Commonwealth now encompassed over 3,000 star systems, with more joining every month, not through conquest, but through the simple recognition that cooperation created possibilities that no single species could achieve alone. Humanity had taught the galaxy its greatest lesson. True strength came not from the power to dominate others, but from the wisdom to help others become their best selves. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, illuminated not by the cold light of empire, but by the warm glow of partnership. The galaxy had finally learned to grow not through conquest, but through collaboration. And in the vast network of worlds that stretched across the spiral arms, billions of beings worked together toward a future none of them could have imagined. Alone, a future where diversity was strength, cooperation was power, and the greatest adventures were still ahead. The age of empire was over. The age of partnership had begun.